Hello everybody, this is a video about multiplying and dividing integers. I am your host, Mr. Shirley, fighting the forces of evil with the power of math. Kawamo! Now, please make a short note as we go through this video lesson here. It should be pretty brief, but you will need some of this information. So our title is Multiplying and Dividing Integers, in case you forgot, and our learning goal is to consider some methods for multiplying and dividing integers. That is the most surprising learning goal I have read this year. Okay, next. There's certain rules, and I would like you to make a bit of a chart as we go. So there's certain rules for multiplying integers, okay? And again, feel free to pause or back up the video if you need to. So if you're multiplying a positive times a positive, your answer will be positive, okay? If you're multiplying a positive times a negative, your answer will be negative. Negative times a positive, your answer is still negative, and negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, now another way to help remember these is that if the signs are the same, so positive and positive, or negative and negative, your answer is positive. Okay, so same signs equals a positive answer. All right, and if the signs are different, meaning a positive and a negative, or negative positive, same thing. So if the signs are different, your answer will be negative. Okay, so we'll go through a few examples of these just right over here. And yes, please write some of these down. It will be very helpful for you. Come on, pen. There we go. So positive 5 times positive 2 equals positive 10. Okay, fairly straightforward. And yes, I know it's divided up in the chart, so you know what sign your answer should have. And remember too, that if there's no sign in front, it is assumed to be a positive. Okay, so positive 3 times negative 3 means our answer is a negative, so we put a negative, and then 3 times 3 is 9. So as you're going through these with multiplying and dividing, it might be handier for you to treat it as two separate parts. One is the sign for your answer, and then the second part is the numerical part of your answer. Okay, so negative 7 times positive 2, because it's a negative and a positive, we know our answer is negative. And then 7 times 2 equals 14. Easy peasy. Okay, and negative times a negative means our answer will be positive because the signs are the same on these two. And 5 times 3 equals 15. Any questions? No? Great. Let's keep going. Now, on this next slide here, we have rules for dividing. Okay, now here's the thing you'll probably notice. All the rules are the same. Okay, so feel free to reuse the chart you made for multiplying integers because it's all the same kind of result. So positive divided by positive gets you a positive answer. Positive divided by negative or negative divided by positive gets you a negative answer. And a negative divided by a negative gets you a positive answer. Okay, so again, same signs that you're dividing means your answer is positive, so that's positive, positive, or negative, negative means you get a positive answer. If the signs are different on your numbers that you're dividing, then your answer will be negative. Okay, so we'll go through a few examples. And again, it's maybe helpful for you to treat these in two parts. Okay, so the first part is getting the correct sign for your answer, and then the second part is getting the numerical part of your answer. All right, so because we have positive 8 divided by positive 4, signs are the same, so we know our answer is positive, and then we take 8 divided by 4, which gets us 2. Very exciting. Okay, we have second example, we have a positive 15 and a negative 3, so that means our answer will be negative. And then you do 15 divided by 3 to get the 5. Okay, negative divided by positive means our answer is negative, and 12 divided by 6 is 2, and negative divided by negative means our answer is a positive, and then 30 divided by 10 is 3. Okay, so treating it separately like that sometimes takes some of the trickiness out of these questions. Okay, now on this one, I'd like you to pause the video and try out these answers for yourself. I've done these to indicate a few different ways that division and multiplication could look. So questions A and B are multiplication, Okay, and questions C and D are division. So pause it, try them out. I'll talk about them in a moment. Alrighty, so when you see brackets side by side, like in question A here, that always indicates multiplying. Okay, you will see this in algebra, you will see this certainly in integers, and you will see this in future math courses as well. So when they're side by side, multiply. Okay, if there's no sign in there, you're multiplying. A dot is another way often of indicating multiplication. Again, these are ways of doing it, especially when algebra comes up, when x might be mistaken for a letter that's part of an algebra equation. Okay, so the x that we routinely use for multiplying could be mistaken for something else. All right, so we've got two different ways to indicate multiplication. Okay, so when you're trying out A there, we've got negative times a positive, so your answer should be negative. And then 4 times 3 is 12. Not too bad. So in B, we've got a negative times a negative, which means our answer is positive. And then 5 times 8 is 40. Okay, hopefully still not doing too badly here. Now with the division, okay, you're used to the one in D, see that all the time. C looks like a fraction, and I suppose it is, but it also can indicate division, okay? And as we talked about with converting between fractions and decimals, you can simply divide top by bottom in order to get a decimal or a whole number out of that question, depending on what the answer is, and treat these the same way. Okay, so 60 divided by negative 5, so we've got a positive divided by a negative, means our answer is negative, and 60 divided by 5 equals 12. Okay, and then on the last one here, we've got negative divided by negative, which means positive answer. Oh, and apparently I didn't put the plus sign either, but as we all know, and hopefully you remember, that means it's treated as a positive. Okay, as you're going through the work for adding and multiplying and dividing integers, multiplying and dividing integers, there, got it all right all at the same time that time. Please try and do as much of it as you can without a calculator. Okay, you should be able to, just using those rules we discussed on the previous two slides, just figure out what sign your answer should have, and then the math for them should not be that tricky. Okay, so to the best of your ability, I would like you to do them without a calculator. If you're getting really stumped on one or two, that's fine. Use the calculator to, sorry, I don't mean to say that it's good you're getting stumped. If you are getting stumped, feel free to use a calculator after you've tried it a few times, but only for the numerical part. Please do not use the calculator to determine what the sign should be. This is just good practice. You should know what sign your answer should be before you ever bring in a calculator. Okay, so please make sure you're doing that. Now, one last thing for this lesson, I want to just bring up these the multiplying and dividing rules that we talked about as another way of considering adding and subtracting. Okay, now we're not going to specifically be multiplying or dividing with right here because we're subtracting in B, adding in A. But when you've got the signs side by side like this, so we've got two signs, positive and a negative, okay, you're not multiplying anything, but using the same rule here and here, okay, we know that a positive and a negative together, because they're different, that means you would end up with an answer that would be negative. Okay, and when we have two negatives, that turns into a positive. And you can use that to rephrase an adding or subtracting question in a way that might be simpler and easier for you to get. Okay, so if there's two of the signs together, okay, again, that would become a negative, and that can just be then rewritten as 5 minus 2. Okay, so because these two are opposite signs, become a subtraction, so just 5 subtract 2, which is 3. Possibly easier to wrap your mind around than just doing 5 plus negative 2. Okay, and similarly with this one, the two negatives would become a positive, and so we would end up with just 6 plus 4. Okay, adding up to 10. Now, I suggested last time some different ways in adding and subtracting, and you're welcome to keep using those. But I want you to consider this way as well, just for a moment, to see if this makes more sense to you. Feel free to use it. If you find this way faster, feel free to use it. If you find this way endlessly complicated, then don't bother and stick with the way that we did before. I'll leave that up to you. So again, try out the homework for today uh, without using a calculator the best you can. And please let me know during our meetings and by email or anything if you do have any questions. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.